Hello, it's Andrew Eborn here for another fun-filled frolic through the fascinating fields of facts. And I'm joined again by the Professor. How are you, Viz?
I'm very good, thanks, Andrew. I'm good. How are you?
I am amazingly well. Last time
Good.
we were looking at the eyes and the youngest part of me, or rather the youngest part of you being looked at by the oldest part of me. We get the right.
That's it. There we are. Very good.
And the skin, we worked out that mostly is all dead. So we were looking at the dead bit of people as well. But today, I thought we'd explore the world of AI. And people are so scared about artificial intelligence and robots replacing people's jobs. But before that fear, the biggest threat they felt was from pigeons. Why was that?
Well, it's funny you should ask, because you're right. People are scared of artificial intelligence, and we've seen the great strides that AI has made. So AI is now better at chess than the best human. It's better at the Eastern game Go than the best human. So in these areas, it beats us. But what it doesn't have is general intelligence. That's something that we still are the masters of. We can take lots of different things and put them together. So, for example, DeepMind, the computer that can beat all of us humans at chess. You can't ask it what its favorite color is, right? You might as well ask your toaster. So at these very limited tasks, AI is brilliant, but they are limitations. And furthermore, it's been found that you don't need necessarily a great deal of processing power to do these limited sort of tasks. And this is where the pigeons come in. Now, this is a study, this is a bona fide scientific study that was done in 2015, so not long ago, by a reputable research group at University of California, Davis, and it's published peer review, so the highest level of scientific scrutiny, in a journal called PLoS One, Public Library of Science One. So it's not out there. It is mainstream science. What these people at UC Davis did was they thought they knew that pigeons have a very good visual system. So of course I've got to bring in something about eyes, being from Moorfields. The pigeon visual system is very good. And what they thought they would do is to train pigeons to look both at X-rays and to look at tissue slides to say whether there was cancer there or not, right? And it took about 2 weeks to train the pigeons. And essentially the pigeons had a button that they would have to peck to say either it's cancer or it's not cancer. And after 2 weeks, and if they got it right, they got a nice pigeony treat, you see. Who could ask more? So after 2 weeks, they were as good at expert humans. And furthermore, if they did, the pigeon equivalent of crowdsourcing, which is flock sourcing, they got many pigeons and they took the majority decision. The pigeons had a 99% accuracy rate.
99%?
Yes, and that's in the paper. So pigeons can do it, so as well as we can.
Is this a big threat then? Are our jobs going to be replaced by pigeons?
I think it's most unlikely. If I were a radiologist, I wouldn't lose a lot of sleep over the impending pigeon menace. First of all, because it's impractical to keep flocks of pigeons in a radiology department. But the main thing is a slightly more philosophical point. If a radiologist makes a mistake, you can ask them why, right? You can say, so you said that this was cancer and it turned out not to be. Well, why? And they will be able to point to, they'll say, well, I saw this feature on the X-ray. And as you can see, it's a very borderline case. And although I'm well trained and I've kept up to date, I've done all those GMC things I'm supposed to do, I made an honest mistake. And you can then decide, was that an honest mistake or was it negligence? Now, you can't ask a pigeon to do that. And more interestingly, you can't ask an AI to do that. So AIs in general can't explain their decisions, and that's a problem. Can an AI be negligent, medically negligent? And that's something we haven't really answered yet. So although it's a facetious point about the pigeons, it does bring us into some slightly deeper territory. So,
a lot to do with liability and things like that. But what else?
Yeah.
I love the idea of birds and other animals and various things being used to replace jobs in the same way as dogs are very good at detecting diseases and very good at tracking down and so on and so forth. What else can birds do? What else could the pigeons do?
Well, going back to much older history, the reason why probably this group in UC Davis thought they would use pigeons, because they're trainable and they've got good visual systems, is that they were used in the Second World War. There was a covert op called Project Pigeon. And the idea was that pigeons would be used to guide bombs. So these were bombs with little fins on them, a bit like cruise missiles. There'd be a pigeon in front, and it would be trained to recognize the target. And it would differentially peck at the front of the bomb on the screen to move the target into the middle. And actually, it got some funding from the Department of Defense. In the end, it was not pursued because, first of all, no one took them seriously. And secondly,
a bird-brained scheme. They
exactly. And also, electronics got to the point where it was better than the pigeons.
Yeah, interesting. And didn't get repurposed. Didn't bats get involved? Some with a bat bomb?
Ah, no, that's a very interesting one, actually, because, yeah, so they had these bombs with wings on them that could glide in to strike a target. And they were then used by electronics, and they were called bat bombs. They didn't have bats in them, but there were other bombs that did have bats in them. So this is a very weird story. This was a dental surgeon who was a friend of Eleanor Roosevelt, was visiting Carlsbad Caverns and saw all the bats roosting. And he realized that bats would go and roost just before dawn. So he thought, he also knew that Japan, which had just bombed Pearl Harbor at the time, was made mostly of wooden houses. So he thought, and I must admit, I wouldn't have thought of this, he thought, why don't we get a lot of hibernating bats and attach incendiary devices to them and then let them go out of these bombs. They'll fly under the eaves of the houses and roost. Then the fire will start. So we'll be able to destroy it. And actually, it was in some ways not humane to the bats, but the idea was it would start fires, but so that people could get out. So it would destroy the buildings, but there wouldn't be unnecessary loss of human life. And again, quite a lot of money. This was actually tested out. And on one occasion, the bats got loose on the airfield and they burnt down the airfield. And then, you know, they had a few other unsuccessful tests, and eventually the idea was dropped because more money was going into the atomic bomb. But it was something that was seriously tried, actual bat bomb.
Ah, good heavens! So we've had bird brain ideas and batty ideas.
Batty ideas.
We love it. I love the repurposing and how animals can assist in that sort of way. Now, Professor, thank you very much for joining us. We'll see you next time.
Pleasure. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.